today. We're welcoming our clients, Plymouth Community Homes, onto the call to take a little look into how they've reimagined the lettings process. Really pleased to welcome John Yates into the call, who'll be able to tell us a bit more about the background to the project, the challenges they've faced, features and benefits of the solution, as well as some future plans as well. And then, as I say, we'll go into some Q&A towards the end of the call as well. And so I'm sure you guys will have plenty of questions for us. But yeah, just to begin with, my name is Jacob. Nice to see you all. I'm lead digital strategist at Prodo, which basically just means that my role is to get involved at very sort of early stage grouping of potential Prodo customers, take housing associations who are looking to transform with digital through a scoping and sort of proposal process with a view of hopefully onboarding some new Prodo customers on board. So that's me. I'll let you say a quick hello, Jen, as well, if that's all right.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. Morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. My name's Jen. I'm head of growth at Prodo. I work with our team of account managers and lots of our lovely housing sector clients to deliver all the fantastic things Jake's just been talking about. So we stay really close to our clients, obviously make sure that the solutions, the platforms we're developing, the strategy support your goals, help you get from A to Z in terms of, whatever your objectives are. And obviously there's such a kind of emphasis in the sector around channel shift particularly, and enabling customers to do more and, driving efficiencies with projects. And actually that's kind of really at the heart of what we're going to be talking about today with John. Back to you, Jake. Nice to see you.
Thank you for that, Jen. I'll just give a very, very brief intro into us as an agency from a Prodo perspective. For those of you who don't know us already, we've been specialising in providing digital solutions for housing associations and their customers for over 16 years. So we support and innovate to enable HAs and their residents to engage with one another digitally through every step of the journey, essentially. So beginning with that public-facing website, advertising properties to potential customers, through to the application process, which we're going to very much be talking about in more detail today, in terms of digital lettings process, including a customizable sort of questionnaire journey, document upload for proof of ID, etc., followed by enrolment into a self-service and/or mobile application for successful applicants to go ahead and manage their tenancies, pay their rent, schedule repairs, these sorts of things, really sort of enabling that digital first customer journey for those residents who are suited to that, I suppose. Obviously, we're on Housing Hive today. We run all sorts of events across the sort of calendar year. It's got some regular sort of slots, and one called Web Wrap and one specifically for HubSpot as well. So if you'd like to review any of those, or if you need to jump off early today, potentially want to revisit any of today's call, feel free to access these past recordings on our video hub. There's all sorts of topics in there from a housing perspective, so I would encourage you to jump on there and have a little look. I'm sure there's something in there which you'd be interested in. But yeah, on to today's session, I suppose. So beginning with the story so far from a Plymouth Community Homes and sort of Prodo partnership to some extent, perspective as well. So I'll let John expand upon this shortly, but to begin with, PCH, as we know them internally, started acquiring and managing homes in around sort of 2010, and since then have grown to what we are today, which is essentially managing over 16,000 properties in and around the Plymouth area, servicing over 35,000 people as well. Plymouth also have the So Living brand as well, which focuses solely on the shared ownership property sales side of things. And we started working together back in 2016. That was when the working partnership began. And that was initially to design and develop a public-facing website for Plymouth. And what followed on from that was the first phase of My PCH self-service portal with integrations into their housing management system and a couple of other platforms as well, which essentially enables residents to manage their tenancies, make payments, check their balances, report repairs, these sorts of things, just sort of expecting the self-service portal. And then next up was really digitizing that lettings process, the step prior to the self-service portal, tenancy management, if you like. Now, the lettings process was one which John and the team at PCH identified as something which could certainly be improved, and approached us to sort of help build something to facilitate the process in a bit more of an efficient way. Again, I'll let John expand upon this shortly, but PCH had come to us with already having done some great work on sort of mapping the process, which both the applicant and also internal staff members across multiple teams at PCH go through to onboard a customer. It's quite a convoluted process, beginning with the choice-based lettings information, involving many data capture points, some of which was sort of duplicated quite often on paper as well, including face-to-face meetings at Plymouth HQ for each applicant who got to a certain stage, and there was quite a lack of potentially some pre-qualification efforts in there as well to really sort of streamline that process and make sure that not only were PCH spending their time effectively with people who were potentially suitable for them, but the process was nice, easy, and encouraging from a customer point of view as well. So we got started. Myself and our engineering manager Chris flew down to Plymouth, took advantage of John and the team's great hospitality down at their offices, emptied their coffee machines into ourselves, and held some consultancy workshops across 2 days with various stakeholders to really sort of dig into those aspects of which parts of the process were the most inefficient, what each department needed to be able to progress their point of the process to the next stage, and therefore what was sort of relevant to digitize, I suppose. And then we followed on from there with like an indicative wireframe of the potential solution, iterated on this as a sort of partnership, and then we agreed scope, and I suppose we got to work and got cracking on the solution, I guess. So I suppose at this point, it'd be a good chance to hand over to yourself, John, to I suppose talk to begin with about the need for change, the challenge, why the project came about, and then we'll get into the solution afterwards, if that sounds all right with you.
Absolutely perfect, Jacob. Yep, no problem at all. Can everyone hear me okay?
Perfect.
Okay, so basically we've focused on the onboarding process, which typically has been very much the sort of poor relation in terms of technical input from ourselves. It's been an area of the business that has been somewhat neglected, if you like. So this is very much a game-changing experience for them from an operational perspective. But we're very excited with the fact that we've managed to break new ground in terms of interfacing with some of our housing management system, which we've done before with Prodo successfully. So expanding that. We're also interfacing with our electronic document management system, which is Castleton. And also we're shortly going to be going live with IntelliSoft integration and various other bits and bobs. There's another project that we're doing with garages that my colleague is working on, which is looking good. So we're looking to really expand the use of Umbraco as a background to our portal. So without further ado, I will jump into the demo.
Great.
Should we do that? I'll stop sharing.
I'll share my screen.
Here we go.
Okay, so it's that one. Okay. Right, so basically this is what the housing management team will see. They'll see a list of applications that have been automatically transferred from Housing Choices. Sorry, the Home Connections system, which is the system that hosts the Devon Home Choice application. That basically, before anyone in Devon can apply for one of our properties for Plymouth Community Homes, they have to sign up to Devon Home Choice. They have to be registered on there, and they have to submit bids in order to bump themselves up on a list, a short list for applicants. So as you can see, we've got Bob Scratchit, who's our test user. So we can go in there and view the application as a staff member. So as you can see, he's registered on my PCH, and he's asked to respond to a few questions. There's a few personal questions that he needs to answer. For example, preferred method of contact, best time to contact, preferred spoken language, and all this is basically saved back to our housing management system, which is very cool. Are you pregnant? There's also questions about if they're pets, etc. And then they can save the changes and submit the changes. But the pièce de la résistance is our integration with Castleton, which is our electronic document management system. So I'll demonstrate the document upload functionality. So as a Housing Choices team member, I can say change the status to awaiting documentation. It then prompts me to add a type of document for the applicant to upload. So I can add that. So I can then choose from the drop-down list, and these are all married up to the tags in our housing management, in our electronic document management system. So if I choose driving license, you'll see in a moment, I'll just put in there, please add photo card. You can add a note in there, and you can add multiple documents. So I can click on add. I won't do it at the moment because of the time constraints, but you can add multiple document uploads, and they'll just get an email as soon as I click submit. It'll say it successfully changed the status, and it will send an email to me as Mr. Robert Scratchett because he's got my email address, and I can click on a link in that email and it takes me to the dashboard, and I can click on document evidence and it brings up a selection, and ideally you can open it up on a mobile device. So the major factor here is that a lot of people deal with us via mobile phone, and it's their preferred method of contact. So again, that's an extra feather in the cap, really, in terms of being able to do this all via any device with a browser. It's very powerful. So if I click on submit, okay, so it's document upload has been successfully requested. So what I'll do is I'll bring up this is basically the Castleton application that the portal is interfaced with, which Jan has gracefully developed for us, bless him. So if I open up my email on my phone, and it's just arrived just now. I don't know if you can you see my phone?
We'll trust you, John, that's the email in question.
It's got a link on there that says, please click here to access the portal and upload the requested documents. So I see a cut down version of what you've seen, and it's asking me to log in. So I put in my login details and submit. And as if by magic, it's asking me for application evidence. Can you see that?
Yeah, brilliant.
Okay, so I just tap on there and let's see if this works. Okay, that's fine, cool. There we are, and it's asked me to upload my driving license.
Perfect.
Have you seen that? Okay, and the beauty of using a mobile phone is it uses the phone camera, so you can take photographs with your smartphone of any document. So what I'll do is I'll click choose file and camera, and I'll just take a photograph of, I don't know, this document here. Don't know what it is. Okay, and it says I'm happy with that. It's got Crediton Community Bookshop as a photograph. Just remember that. It'll come up in a moment. Okay, so then I click on submit. And just going back to the screen, you'll see it appear very shortly in CEDRM. Takes a few seconds, especially based on the size of the document that you're uploading or the photograph. And there we are.
There it is.
There it is. And there is Crediton Community Bookshop. So basically, it's done it in seconds. So that's basically magic as far as we're concerned. That's a major solution as far as
John,
yes.
In the past, before this solution was available, how would your teams have typically handled that kind of process? Would it have been very manual? Would it have been as part of face-to-face interviews with applicants?
Okay. Sure. The whole process was done via paper form. So we'd invite the applicant in and to talk to one of our Housing Choices team, and they go through a paper form with them while they were sat in the meeting room, and they'd have with them a whole stack of documentation that we'd have to manually scan in and upload manually into our content management system.
Yeah, that's really amazing.
As you can imagine, the time taken to do that was pretty special. But additionally, to make life even easier, is that we're tagging the documents before they actually hit the electronic document management system. So as you can see there, that document has already been tagged with the fact that it's not a driving license, obviously, but it's just an example of a document that I've tagged with a driving license. Because if you remember, when I chose in the drop-down box, I asked them to upload a document, photographic evidence of their driving license, photo card ID. So in that respect, it saved a hell of a lot of button clicks, a lot of navigation. So you can't, I can't underestimate how much of an impact that's potentially going to have as the users start to take advantage of it, and they are starting to use it in anger, which is great.
Great.
So yeah, that's sort of the highlights of that process, really. But incidentally, we're going to expand that very shortly with integration with Intellisoft, which is our SMS system. So you'll be able to have a button under here as a Housing Choices staff member. So you have an SMS button in there to send off SMSs from the portal directly to the applicant, to that number there, which is actually Jan's, I believe, because we've been testing it.
Please no one spamming with messages. That would be great.
Sorry.
And John, those SMSs, they will they'll be able to be content managed, won't they? So you can include a link to, certain requests and so on. So it makes it very very compelling and sort of relevant in terms of the context of wherever an applicant is in the process.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Yeah, I mean, we're pulling out all the stops as far as our digital channels are concerned, and Prodo have supported us very well in that regard. So yes, onwards and upwards.
Brilliant, thank you, John. That's really great. And I guess sort of if you simplify this platform down to its kind of like simplest expression, it is a very big data capture exercise, isn't it? And that's a big data capture exercise, and evidencing exercise, as you say, was previously done manually, face-to-face, on paper, with follow-up actions after that. So we'll come on to talk about sort of potential the impact and the feedback that you're getting sort of a little bit later in the call. But there are some really nice features within the platform as well. So you've talked about the SMS integration, you've talked about the document integration. There is also an ability for some two-way communication within the platform as well. Is that right?
What we can do is shortly we're going to be releasing the ability for the Housing Choices staff or any other staff member associated with the application to be able to annotate the application with notes, because we'll use this as our gospel area. So it'll be a collaboration from lots of different teams associated with ensuring that the applicant is fit to rent a home with Plymouth Community Homes, and they'll be able to annotate. In fact, I've probably got a link that I can share with you just to show you what that might look like. Let's hope it works. Yeah, so this is what the annotations will look like. So when you click on add annotation, it'll bring up a dialog box with the category of the type of response that we need to capture, and an individual section within that category, and then it's got lorem ipsum dollar. We can add in notes there and then add annotation, and that adds annotations to the bottom of this list.
Right.
And then cleverly, Jan has actually put in the number of annotations associated with that application. So at a glance, you'll be able to see exactly what's captured, or if anyone's actually captured any annotations or notepad entries.
We've just had our first question through for you, John, if that's all right. So Andy at Magenta's just popped a note in, just asking if you can put reminders on those requests for data as part of this process. So if you're requesting, like you did earlier on, requesting a copy of a driver's license, for instance, if nothing's received after X amount of time, are you able to sort of enroll someone into a workflow, or is there some sort of alert possible to be able to?
Yeah, we can send through alerts. The intention is we just pop them an SMS, because a lot of people have mobile phones these days. Incidentally, we're quite choosy in the type of person that we're introducing to this, in terms of the applicant. So they need to be tech savvy to a degree that their expectation is to be able to do things via a mobile phone or a desktop browser. So this isn't going to meet everyone's expectations in terms of their capability, but we need to, which we've been practicing that recently. We need to query with the applicant that they're comfortable with using the technology. But normally there's someone of maybe school age that's able to upload the documents on behalf of the applicant, for example. And we've had recent situations where a son or a younger member of family has taken the reins in terms of doing the technical interaction, which is great. It's opened up that whole window of opportunity, and it doesn't present too much of a hurdle for applicants to do this. So that's really good.
Excellent. That's good.
John, is there anything else you wanted to show us in terms of this area of the demo, or we could move on to, we've got your lovely video that provides an overview of the sort of customer experience of the platform as well. So we could dive
if you want to do that, if you please do so. Should I stop set?
If Jake, if you want to share your screen again, that'd be great.
Sure, 2 seconds. There we go. Isn't that okay?
Yeah, that's fab. So John and the comms team at PCH have put together this fantastic video, which really encapsulates the customer experience of applying for a home with PCH through the new solution. So yeah, take it away.
Look.
How to use My PCH, your application. First, you'll need to check your details and provide some additional information. You'll receive an email from us asking to confirm your email address and start your application on My PCH. Once your email has been confirmed, you'll then get another email asking you to set your password. After confirming your password, you will then be able to access the My PCH dashboard. To start your application, click on the application details. Check your details and fill out any missing information. Some of these details have already been taken from your Home Choice application. If any of these details are incorrect, please let your Housing Choices officer know. Once you've filled out the form, click Save and Submit at the bottom. You'll then get a thank you message and your Housing Choices officer will check over the details. Once your Housing Choices officer has checked over your details, you'll then be asked to provide some documents to support your application. You'll receive an email requesting these documents. Sign into the portal and click on Application Evidence on the dashboard. In Application Evidence, you'll see which documents you'll need to submit. For each document, click Choose Files. You can choose a file from your device or use the camera on your device to take a picture of your document and upload it to the portal. Complete this process for all documents required. Once you've uploaded all of your documents, press Submit. You'll receive a confirmation message once they've been successfully uploaded. Your Housing Choices officer will then review your documents. They may need further documents, but we'll let you know. Receiving your offer. Once you've uploaded your documents successfully, your Housing Choices officer will let you know if you've been accepted. As soon as you've been housed, we'll also send a link to your My PCH account. You can pay your rent, check your balance, report a repair and much more with your My PCH account. If you've been unsuccessful, your Housing Choices officer will be in touch to discuss your application and you'll receive an email confirming the withdrawal of your application. Other features. You can access our frequently asked questions on the portal by clicking on FAQs in the dashboard. If we haven't been able to answer your query, please contact your Housing Choices officer. You can also send us an inquiry by clicking on Contact Us in the dashboard.
There you go.
That's great. So yeah, that's a kind of whistle-stop tour in terms of what the customer interface is for the application process. And John, you and the team have been using the new portal for a little while now.
Yes.
What kind of feedback have you been getting from your housing officers?
Very positive. Some people have been on our journey quite early in terms of the rollout, and that's been very successful. And they're embracing the technology. It's almost their go-to platform now, which we're going to encourage even more because we're rolling out the new functionality. The other functionality I did neglect to mention was the fact that we're also including the affordability section in there, so the staff member can actually input details of their income, expenditure, and that exports automatically to a affordability spreadsheet, and that will easily tell us whether they're going to be suitable for the property. So yeah,
was that another one, John, where that was done manually, sort of in person with the applicant at the time?
Yes.
Yeah.
And also the fact that we couldn't report on that data. We couldn't report on the number of successful applications in terms of whether they'd were successful in terms of their affordability or anyone that wasn't successful.
Yeah.
So we've improved that reporting function, but it is very, very slick, as Barbara has said But yes, it cuts out a lot of the unrequired information. I think because we had the applicant in front of us before the portal and before COVID, we had them in coming into the office, so they'd have to make their own way into the office.
Yeah.
And we'd sit them down, and because they were captive audience, we'd ask them an awful lot of questions that were superfluous to the application process. So I don't know, we were asking them all sorts of questions that we didn't need to get them into the house. So we've actually streamlined that process significantly, and we're asking the questions post tenancy. So once they've become a tenant, in the 4-weekly follow-up, we can ask them the subsequent questions we would have historically asked them during the application process. So it streamlined that whole process, and it's been very well received by the applicants. It's almost it's surprising how many people have managed to do it without any fuss. But that just goes to prove that collaboration with Prodo, we've made the process a lot slicker. It's a lot tidier, and it's more agreeable to everyone.
Yeah.
And that can only be a good message to everyone.
Absolutely.
Thanks for that, John. And you touched on earlier sort of the customer, the applicants that you've been focusing on being kind of tech savvy and having an expectation of transacting with you digitally. We're also able to kind of automatically set people up to use the MyPCH tenant portal.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. As part of the deliverables, we wanted to automate the successful applicant from being an applicant to a MyPCH tenant.
Yeah.
And that's all done automatically, which is fantastic news for us. It means that the contact center don't have to do that. It's all done seamlessly in the background. So
it saves the effort, doesn't it, of you having to try and convert those people to digital.
Absolutely.
They just sort of auto-enroll into it, which
auto-enrollment. Exactly. That was the key. So, it's been.
We've had a few questions through. Should we tackle some of the questions, Jeff?
Sure.
So we've had, let's have a look. Will Murray put a couple in. So we've had one from Will saying, we saw the document management system was updated with the submitted document. Is there an update shared to the housing management system as well? So a log of the document being submitted so that operations roles can see the latest submission status?
No, basically the Castleton application that just receives the document. There's no, other than I think there's an email that gets sent as soon as that document arrives in Castleton.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, Umbraco is powerful enough to be able to get a trigger when that application has received a document upload.
Yeah.
Housing Choices actually get an email, an automated email, to a dedicated shared inbox.
Okay.
So it tells the team when an applicant has accessed the application in the portal, and also submitted when they've actually submitted. So they've checked their details before they've been asked to upload documents.
Great. Okay.
So
right.
Yeah, that being on a content management system like Umbraco makes it a lot easier. You can set up these auto triggers to make things a lot easier.
Yeah.
Less onerous.
Great. Had another one from Olivia, just focusing on the tenancy agreement itself. So once applicants are successful, they receive their agreement through the portal, or does interaction with the portal end once they've officially completed the sign up? How does the agreement to the tenancy agreement happen?
basically the tenancy agreement is signed we're using Adobe Sign. So we're sending out an electronic version. We did have the idea of having that incorporated into the portal. However, the head of the Housing Choices team said, well, this using Adobe Sign is actually working really well. So it was a case of, okay, we'll leave you to it in that respect.
Yeah.
But who's to say that we won't look at automating that in the future? I mean, to say that this is a minimum viable product in terms of the delivery from Prodo just shows you what Prodo are capable of. I think, you know, just the interfacing, which has been, you know, it's been a long journey, but I think you'll agree it's paid off. And it's being used really well. So
yeah, the potential is there to kind of expand more, more features.
Yeah.
And obviously Adobe Sign is you know, it's a trusted platform. And you know, it gives you that credibility and trust in terms of capturing signatures.
Absolutely. I mean, we've recently rolled out Office 365 to all our users, and we're expanding on that. And Adobe has an app that's affiliated to the Office 365 Microsoft Teams platform, so they can access Adobe Sign in Teams, so they can do they get pop-ups in Teams whenever they get documents signed. So that's a big win for us. So we can pretty much do everything digitally that we were doing before using paper forms. So that's been a massive win for us. Part of this process also is the fact that we, before we engaged with Prodo to start the journey with the portal, with the applicant portal, we made sure that we had a data feed from Devon Home Choice that provided us all the data, so that we would automatically load that into Northgate, and then the portal would then automatically get populated with the applicant data. So that's also been a massive win. So yeah,
that's a really important point, isn't it? Because that avoids the applicant having to re-enter any information, or you having to go over.
Yeah. It was so very, very manual before.
Connected to that, another question from Will. So we saw the many application questions for completion. Are these questions customizable by PCH, or does it require Prodo to update those on your behalf?
Well, they're content managed, so each field is basically mapped to a field in Northgate. So if we need to include additional fields, we'd need to have a degree of development on our side in order to make that happen. But in terms of the content management system, we've introduced all sorts of additional items that help the applicant through the process. So we've given them electronic, digital forms of some of the forms that they need to sign, or they need to acknowledge that they've read. So for example, in the application portal that's recently been developed, we've actually got a question around the pet policy, because obviously we have high-rise flats, and obviously pets are excluded to a certain extent from high-rise flats. But we need to make sure that the applicants read the pet policy. So we've actually created a link in the portal that takes them to those sorts of documents, so they can read all those. So it's supporting our channel shift approach. So that's good.
Right.
That's almost the beginning of the journey. We're starting to shift people away from ringing up the contact center and getting people to self-serve. which is a massive move for us.
Sure is. Great. Got probably 1 minute to go, and I've got a few more questions to get through. So maybe if we try and tackle a couple of them, and then we may have to follow up with some of you guys afterwards, if that's okay. We'll approach John to answer some of these, and we'll answer them together and follow up with email afterwards, if that's all right. But we've got a couple more just to rattle through. So we have, what happens to unsuccessful applications? So if someone isn't able to afford the property, for instance, is that information saved for a specific timescale to use later? Is it a specific sort of process around that, John?
Yeah. So if an applicant is unsuccessful, all their information that they've already provided, so all the documents they've uploaded, we've got a process in Castleton that removes all, because of GDPR legislation, we need to make sure that that's removed. So we've only got applicants that have become tenants. We keep the information for a month, and then it's deleted. That gives time for any reapplications for a different property, so we can maintain that information. But ordinarily, it needs refreshing. It's almost a point in time that you need the evidence. So it can change from time to time. Normally we share the information when they go in and see all their personal data. We make sure that they've seen that data, because they may have submitted data in Devon Home Choice that's been different to their current circumstances, and the portal is there to assist that process, to make sure that they're happy that their circumstances haven't changed. They haven't acquired 1 million dogs or additional household members, etc. But things can change, so that's the flexibility that portals allowed us to have.
Excellent. Great stuff. Well, we've taken up the full 45 minutes now, guys. So we might have to we'll make sure we note down all the remaining questions, and we'll send a follow-up round. We'll probably do so anyway, just with information on the next session, regardless, which will be in, I think, through a few weeks' time. So we'll let you know the dates. But it's going to be cybersecurity based topic. But no, I think for today, really appreciate you jumping on today, John. It's great to see a bit more of the system. I hadn't seen that for a while. I hadn't been involved in this project for ages. It was great for me to see personally, but great to see it come to life, and some of the benefits, some of the features which we've put together there is excellent. So really appreciate your time, and everybody else who's joined today. Thank you for all the questions. As I say, we'll follow up with you shortly on that and with some information on the next session. But yeah, thanks very much. Thanks for your input, Jen, too, as always, and Meg.
Thank you, everybody.
All again soon.
All right, take care.
Care.
Thanks, guys.
Everyone.
Cheers.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.